just struggled with it for a long time because I just didn't see that being me. I didn't like getting up in front of people. I just didn't want to do that kind of stuff, you know. And when God made it clear to me that this is what he wanted me to do, when I got out of high school, I didn't go to college or anything. I thought, well, I probably ought to go to Bible school. And, you know, and I think back at that, and that's okay, but you don't have to do that. You don't have to go to Bible school and seminary and all that stuff. It's like, man, just get in the Word and just have a relationship with God, right? And that'll touch people's hearts. And but I went, and I'm glad I did because I got to experience some things. And one of my favorite things was going to chapel, and because they had great chapel services, and people would come and speak. And then there was this guy that came and spoke. He's an older fellow named Stephen Alford. Anybody ever heard of Stephen Alford before? I don't think you would even know him, you know? He was British, so he had a British accent. I wish I could do one, but you guys would be like, Scott, stop. And I'll never forget, he was preaching that day, and he said something, I've just never forgotten it. It was real simple. He said, the Spirit of God is the power of God, and the Word of God is the authority of God. And he did it with that British accent. And it just sealed the deal, you know, when he did that. And it's like, as he said that, though, it's like, he goes, that's the two things you got to know. You got to know that. And I thought, man, this guy is, I mean, just that simple language is so profound. And I found out that he had this preaching school in Tennessee, and it was for expository preachers. That's a word you'll learn in school, expository, which just means, you know, preach the text, preach the Bible. And so that's what I love, just preach the Bible. And so I finally had this little school, so I went up to Tennessee and went to this little school, and it was maybe, I don't know, 30 or 40, 50 people there or something. I don't know, some of you, Randy, you may know, John Phillips was a commentary writer. John Phillips was there. I got to meet him. It was pretty cool. But I'll never forget when Stephen Alford got up and gave a message, and he gave it from right here in Galatians. And you get ready to see why I remember this. Because you've never heard a message started off like this before. And you probably won't in any other church. And so, but you guys are adults in here today, so I get to do it with you, okay? Because I'll never forget, and like I said, I can't mimic the British accent. I wish I could. But he started out like this, because if you look at verse 1, when it says, "Oh, foolish Galatians," Stephen said, I want to go ahead and emphasize exactly what Paul was saying to the Galatians. And he is. When you go look this word up in the Greek, this is what it means. And here's what he said. He goes, "You stupid Galatians." That's what he said. And I was like, I'm like, whoever uses that word in church, right? But he goes, but this is exactly what this word means. And when you hear it that way, when you get presented here with, "Oh, foolish Galatians," right? But man, when you call somebody stupid, that's more offensive, isn't it? But that's what the word means. And he's saying, like, what has happened to you? And I never forget him saying that and speaking that. And it just like said, it made you wake up. It made you like pay attention. You go, okay, what is God getting ready to say here where maybe I've been stupid? And the reality is, I'll be honest with you, I've been here. What he's getting ready to describe here, I've been here. It is a challenge for Christians. When I first gave my heart to Jesus, coming out of the world of heavy metal, rock and roll music, if you guys know what I'm talking about, and concerts and drugs and all of that, right? Just high all the time. I experienced the radical love and grace of God, right? It completely blew my mind and completely just changed my world. So what happened? I completely condemned all that, which I should, right? But then I became almost like this religious zealot on the other side. Do you follow me? And so I tend to be a person of very extreme nature, right? And like I go from one side, and then when I'm not doing that, then whatever I'm doing, I'm kind of extreme at it. And so I didn't know it. I just thought I'm doing the right thing. I'm just serve God, you know. And but later you begin to learn about things like legalism, and you begin to learn like there's this difference. There's this challenge for Christians between legalism and license. That's the way to look at it. It's like, what can I do? What can I do? What do I say I can't do that God hasn't necessarily told me I can't do, but I'm just choosing not to do it? But then legalism says, well, you can't do it, and you make sure you condemn everybody else around you who does. And Paul says, you're stupid if you do that. That's what I'm saying. This isn't like a tough one. When he says this is what he's calling them out on. He's going, how have you shifted from the very grace that saved you, the faith that saved you, when you were walking in the context of your sin and your brokenness and your dirtiness and your ugliness and all that, how do you all of a sudden now you're going to shift this to, well, it's all about works and how you act and what you do, and that's how you determine whether you're saved or not. Because this is really what the whole book of Galatians is about. It's this difference in grace